just because Chrome is so fast.
What's your favorite browser other than Chrome? Safari?
I do like Safari. I think that, it's not new anymore, but I really do like, they really sort of pioneered in the Chrome search box and the jump back and things, and I think that was really nicely done. But that said, IE, just because of its predominance in the market, is something that you just have to pay attention to.
Yep. Okay, so I want to talk about news, if that's okay.
Sure.
And it's a subject that we have collectively been beating on for a while. I think we all understand the dire situation of the print news media in general. What I'd like to talk to you about is how to fix this. And Eric Schmidt talked a little bit about his vision of the future in the Wall Street Journal last week. Can you talk to me about how you see the future of news in a way that will work for everyone?
Sure. Well, we brainstormed about this a little bit, and a lot of this has to do, we think, with how do you get users more engaged with news online. Because if you can increase the engagement, that's really when we can move towards for-pay models or even more lucrative advertising models. And I think when you say, well, if we invented news, at least as a delivery vehicle for journalism, right? The core journalism stays the same, and then we just say, how does it get delivered for the web from scratch? And we like to ask questions like that. Google Wave did the same thing. What if you reinvented email today? If you reinvented online news and built it from scratch, I think it would look very different than what we have. Yesterday, we released a prototype we've been working on with the New York Times and the Washington Post, which is called The Living Story. Right? Up until now, a lot of online news has been the article that appeared in the print paper, put on a web page, and just shown there with a different Chrome. Right? What if a story was alive and you could actually add updates to it, come back to it? You, as a reader, if you had read an article, would get an alert on it if there had been something added to it and if you were interested enough in it. And so I basically think that whenever a media changes over to a new delivery vehicle, it puts pressure on the atomic unit of consumption. This happened with iTunes. It went from being the album to being the song. This happened with YouTube. Chad was out here earlier. It went from being very long form, standard blocks of video to being very short form. I think we're seeing the same thing on news. Basically, people can come in and read just one article from the source that they care about, or the exact source that they found, and as a result, that's the atomic unit. Certainly people will read some brands that they follow much more thoroughly, but a lot of this is a reader lands here and they see that one article. And if you do that, if you go from that model, basically a lot of things need to change. In particular, one thing I've looked at is, I think Wikipedia is great, but it seems to be really beating news on a lot of things, and particularly on search placement. But if you watch what happens, Wikipedia will have one article on, say, the 2001 anthrax attack, where newspapers will have 6 or 7, or however many articles they ran in their newspaper. Those are all different competing URLs that are competing for placement against each other in the search engine. And so if you actually have one URL, it can really rise up. And in terms of increasing engagement, if you look at a lot of different factors, one, how much we can personalize based on the overall trackability and metrics that are on the web. 2 is this notion of what to do next. When you're reading a print newspaper, you have lots of different columns. So you can basically jump around. There's always somewhere where your eye can go next. If you do a survey of online news sites, and you look at the very bottom of the article where the most engaged reader ends up, there's almost nothing to do there. There's no ads, there's no related articles, those are all higher on the page. Maybe you post a comment, most people don't. And of course users in that situation click the back button, go onto their email, or go to Facebook, right? They go somewhere else to be entertained. So I think if you look at that, you can say, well, look, Amazon, you buy something, here's what you can buy next. YouTube, you watch a video, here's where you can, here's what you should watch next. Facebook, I think one of my favorite features, just because it kind of got me going for a while until I figured out what they were doing, is they have a little box in the upper right-hand corner that says, do you know this person? And you click yes or no, and as soon as you click yes or no, like another person appears. Right? I think the first time I saw this, I actually said yes or no to about 10 people before I realized they're just going to show you every person on the entire network and to be verified at all, because the web does have this sort of endless stream. And I think companies like Twitter and Facebook have popularized this notion of streams. So bake all that together, how come I can't have a personalized stream of news that is portable? I could read it from my desktop, I could read it from my mobile phone. If I read 3 stories on my mobile phone, the desktop should know about it. And when I say personalized, I mean in a very broad sense. It takes into account your preferences, authors and brands that you follow, your social circle, your location, your veggies, as I like to call them. When some major world event happens, you know something about it. And I think baking all that together, you could have a very compelling product that could really increase engagement. And I think that, you know, it's what form that takes. I've been calling the hyper-personalized news stream. What form that takes, I think, is yet to be seen. But I think that it will probably, whatever solves this problem, will probably have some of these characteristics, and will build on some of these notions of webbiness.
Do you really expect, say, the New York Times? Everybody always uses the New York Times as an example. To understand the thing that you're saying, I mean, really? Because, I mean, what you're talking about is some pretty interesting cutting-edge stuff. Are they going to get this and evolve and move fast enough to stay alive?
I think so. I mean, I've been partnering, in particular with the New York Times and the Washington Post, and they've been very progressive in their thinking. This is a problem they really want to solve. And they're also really interested in how can they reinvent themselves in this new medium, and they're very accepting of some of the things that are definitely going to be different.
What about Murdoch? Do you talk to Murdoch as often as you talk to the New York Times?
We do partner with Murdoch. In fact, we announced as part of our real-time search announcement on Monday, we partnered with MySpace. They're giving us over the next few weeks to months their public updates from their profile pages.
But different relationship with it.
Sure.
Do you think that they will ever actually pull their content out of Google?
I don't know. I hope not. Certainly, you know, our goal at Google is to be as comprehensive as possible. We think that's one thing that makes search really great. That said, for us, we have to respect the copyright owners, and that's what really Google is based on. If we don't have the content, we don't have a search engine. And so, if he chose to withdraw his content, we would obviously respect that. I hope that, for the sake of comprehensiveness and ultimately the quality of the search engine, that doesn't happen.
Would you consider paying somebody like the New York Times for their content, maybe exclusively or maybe not, or not going to answer that question?
I think it's difficult to say. I think that when you look, that said, we have instead over time developed a lot of programs and products that help with the monetization problem. So for example, Google AdSense paid more than $5 billion out last year to publishers, blogs, newspapers, all kinds of different websites. And so we want to make it easy for people to monetize content in a way that's relevant and compelling. Now, of course, we have our display advertising platform, which again, and the ad exchange, which is there to really empower publishers. And so we're very excited about those things. And of course, search and news itself deliver literally billions of clicks onto these sites each month, and that those hopefully will allow them to monetize. Plus add that to that Google Analytics, which is designed to help people understand how is their site working, what is and isn't working. So we've been bringing technology solutions to bear in order to try and help solve this problem. And you can see that we're quite motivated and compelled to produce solutions to this problem that really do help publishers.